Joe Leonard here, Frederick Pickleball, Frederick County Pickleball. Welcome to my basement. Welcome you two to my basement. So Abby and Zach Davis, thanks for coming in and spending some time talking about local Frederick Pickleball stuff. You guys were in a tournament this weekend, along with a lot of everybody in town and a lot of, what was that, the Maryland Open at Finksburg Dill Dinkers?
Yeah.
Oh, Dill Dinkers right here.
Yeah.
There we go. Dill Dinkers coming to Frederick, opening early October with any luck. It's supposed to be October. So it was in Finksburg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or was it at multiple places?
Just
Finksburg.
Just the one.
Yeah, that's a nice place because that was a tennis facility. So they've got all those courts spread out. 12 courts, all on one side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how'd it go?
Well, we did singles.
It was a 4-day tournament.
Yeah.
You guys did all 4 days?
We did three.
You did 3. So you were in singles? You each played singles?
We each played singles.
Thursday.
He played men's doubles.
Okay.
And I played
Friday.
Mixed doubles.
Saturday?
Sunday.
Sunday.
So we missed women's doubles on Saturday.
Women's doubles. Yeah. You didn't play women's doubles.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so you played singles. You played gender doubles. You played men's. You didn't play women's. And then you went back and played mixed. Did you play mixed?
No.
Okay.
I did not.
So how was your tournament experience? How'd it go?
Well, overall, the tournament was run well.
Uh-huh.
We feel like.
Yeah.
The Maryland Open was run really well.
The director was great. Really easy to talk to. We ran into a few issues with people, and he was good about it.
Well, that's what we want to hear about. What issues did you run into?
Well, your guys's. Yours and Zach. Yeah.
So men's doubles, we were playing 3-0 and unders. My first ever tournament. I was very excited.
Yeah. You're playing in the right bracket.
Yeah, and my I have like 3 games logged on Duper or whatever, and my teammate is, around my Duper as well.
Did you know them going in, or did you pick somebody up who was single?
I picked Zach Winslow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've been playing together,
Sure.
since we started going to MVP.
Okay.
But there were 2 guys in our bracket. One guy's Duper was 3.98. The other guy was 3.78.
And you were in a 3-0?
3 and under. 3
and under bracket.
Yeah.
Was it age?
13 to 49, or it was a very large age bracket.
But 3 was the top.
Yeah. And so myself and my partner Zach, we beat everybody except for the gold medalists. We beat everyone else 15 to 3, 15 to 4, 15 to 5 in that range.
Okay.
They blanked everyone else,
right,
except us, and we got like 5 points off of them on one game, and on silver medal match we got 4 or 5 points off of them.
Right. Okay, so you guys got silver.
We did. Yeah. Okay. In a very small bracket.
Right.
But the frustrating thing was just that people that were dupered, a hair underneath the 4-0,
right,
are playing in the 3-0 and under.
Right.
Bracket.
Which is sort of typical tournament stuff. You're going to get sandbagging. It's just the way it is going in. It's been that way ever since I've been in, since 2017. To be expected. But it is frustrating. Some people just want to walk away with bling, or sometimes people get put in a bracket, I think, because of the tournament. But I think you guys did pretty well. Go ahead.
Well, I think the thing we learned with that was we did talk to the tournament director, and he said with that high of a jump, if we had contacted them beforehand and said, hey, this is their duper rating, he would have moved them.
If they had contacted him, and
if
other
people,
if you had said that, hey, there's a 3-9 in the 3-0 bracket.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big burden to put on the other players to sort of, I don't know. I think that I'm sure the tournament director job is a ridiculously busy and hard job, but monitoring what level players are in which bracket is probably a pretty important thing.
Yeah.
So that's something that we talked about, because they make you link your duper to sign up.
Yeah.
So
really,
yeah.
we felt like it should probably be something that they can comb through.
Yeah, well,
even just automate.
The state of duper, though, that's sort of surprising. But I guess there really is no other governing rating body.
Yeah.
Just duper's just way all over the place.
But if more tournaments did that, then it would become consistent.
Agreed.
And,
Yep.
But I think it's just good to know because everybody in their bracket, their other games were actually pretty good games. Like they were enough of a game, and
Right.
you know,
If
and
these guys weren't in your bracket, you probably would have been looked at like the sandbaggers, right?
it's
So we'd
true.
be having a different
It's
conversation.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the reality of it, is you did really well, and you had 4-0s in the 3-0 bracket, and what can you do?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think the consistent thing we learned is go to the tournament director if you have a question or a
Yeah.
problem or an
Yeah.
issue arises.
Absolutely.
Do it early.
Yeah.
Don't wait until
Yeah.
after the game, because after the game, the slip is signed.
Right.
That's donezo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now there was something else that happened that you should have taken to the tournament director. What was that?
In my mixed doubles, that was 3-5 to 4-0. We were up 8-7 out of a 15-point game, so we
Mhm.
switched sides. We were stacking, so I served to the wrong side, and they played the point, and then after the point, we won that point. After the point, they said, well, you served to the wrong side, so you lose that serve, and it goes to your second server. We kind of battled back and forth. I don't want to get into a fight about it. We kind of pushed back, and they're like, no, this is how it is. Like, we played the point, or we could redo it. Anyways, we went on to move to the second server, and we lost the game, but we asked the tournament director, and he said that's not accurate. We did serve to the wrong side, but it's on the opposite team to stop play and say, hey, you're serving to the wrong side.
Okay, because there's a
Yeah.
lot in that one that you can unpack.
Yeah.
From I'm curious why you were stacking to, okay, you served for the wrong side. You guys played the point out,
Yeah.
but it wasn't until you won the point that the
they-
other team
yeah.
brought it up.
Yeah. And they said,
Hmm.
oh, well, we knew it before, but we didn't want to stop. Well, you should have stopped.
Well, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
In tournament play, there's always strategic stuff that you need to be thinking about and do that favors you. This is tournament, man. This is, if you see your partner step on the kitchen line, you don't necessarily raise your hand and say violation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
tournament play.
Totally.
They may have realized you were wrong side, but you would have thought that if they knew you were wrong side, they wouldn't have played out the point. They would have just called it immediately. But then as soon as you were done, they
But we
called
wanted-
it on you. So this goes to the other piece of unpacking I was thinking of, which is knowing the rules.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to be a tournament player, you really want to know the
Yeah.
rules as best you can. Because people are going to come at you with confidence that they know the rules. And if you don't know the rules, I've been there. You're deer in the headlights like, oh, well, there's a couple things. Number one, know the rules. Two, call in the tournament director, whoever the authority is, right? And that's typically the tournament director. Stop play, call the tournament director. Let's get a ruling here.
Yep.
So he said that if you had called him or she, that they would have told you that was not right and to just redo it.
So actually, because they called it after the point, we actually would have gotten that point. And he said
you would have gotten the
yes,
point.
He said that because they played it, the game continues from there, and I just stay. We go to the next point.
Wow, that's
we would have continued on. Like they by playing committed to it. So
right. And now looking back, do you feel like that was a pivotal moment in that match?
Oh, totally. Our mental games totally switched.
Right.
Because then we were frustrated and we were up and our game had totally switched.
You were leading.
We were leading. And even the few points leading up to that, we had honed in on a strategy that was working.
Yeah.
And it all went downhill and lost the game.
But. Yeah, that's a real bummer. But what a learning moment for tournament play, right?
Yeah.
Know the rules as best you can. When in doubt, call the tournament director. Right.
Totally. Yep.
So critical. I mean, that may have been make or break for getting into the medal round. Sounds like it was.
Yeah. Okay. That would have gotten us.
Well, you're walking away with a really good experience. That's just going to make you a better tournament player. Yeah. So, I mean, if nothing else, you can walk away with that.
Overall, I think it taught us a lot about one, call a tournament director, learn the rules, but also just what do we specifically need to work on.
Yeah, and you're not alone. I mean, I've been in situations where I didn't know a rule or they were coming at me with a rule and I'm like, oh, is that really the rule? I can't remember. You carry the book around in your bag or it's on your phone. One was my partner served with his foot outside, so wide outside the imaginary line of the side of the court. So you can't serve with your foot out there. And they called it on us, and I couldn't remember the rule. So they said it was loss of serve. So I went with it. Turned out it's a do-over. Right?
Yeah.
So it can make a big deal in a match, but we live and learn. Well, cool. So it sounds like you guys had a good time at the tournament, a positive experience. You walked away with some bling. You played with Johnny, Hollywood Johnny. I saw that one clip. It was really good of the two of you playing. You started with a new paddle in your hand, which is a gutsy move. When you guys told me that, when Johnny told me that, I couldn't believe it. You go into a tournament and you start playing with a new paddle, and a paddle that's got more power than the one you had. I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was really Johnny. He was like, do it. And his
like
flexibility actually allowed me to do that, which was a great move. And I think that's also what makes him a great partner. Is like in it, he's like, do it, so you're not hesitating or holding
He's
back.
a wild man. I mean, he is a great partner, He's all over the place, which is great. But I can see Johnny's totally saying go for it. So that's cool. That's cool.
Well, also, it was one of those things, I think, when you get to a competitive space like a tournament and you realize that all the other top teams both have that paddle.
Right.
And you go, do I want to kind of get in the arms race or do I want to stay out of it? And
well, I don't want to we'll cover that one next pod. Because that's a big one that will unpack, which is paddles, hot paddles, where the game's going. I have a viewpoint on it. I'm kind of sad, but at the same time, I'm looking at it going, well, you can play with a wooden racket tennis for the rest of your life, Joe, or hickory clubs for golf, and you're gonna be. So anyway, we'll open that one up in another podcast or video. Well, good. So that sounds like a great positive experience. So we're going to drill after this. What are we going to be working on? You guys have any? Do you have any ideas? Any takeaways from the tournament that you want to work on?
Oh yeah.
Cool. Well, from singles, oh my gosh, that was a tough experience. I lost every single match. Had no idea. I really don't know the sport of singles pickleball.
Right.
At this point, I understand the sport of doubles pickleball,
right.
but singles is a different beast.
Right.
And so,
I'm not a singles player, but I have friends who are. And the little bit I learned about it, so there's strategy to singles, and just watching it, just it's almost a completely different game or sport than doubles.
Yeah.
Not only the athleticism of it, but shot selection and where to hit and when to follow up, when not to follow up. But so just start playing with these good. You're lucky you've got a lot of singles players in town that want to play singles. Another topic that we won't hit today, which is, are singles, do they have as much cred right to be on the court as doubles players?
Take up a whole court.
And everybody's going to have a different opinion of that. I have a way I view it, and other people have a way they view it. Well, we'll unpack that at some other time. So my only thing is play with as many singles. If you're going to play singles, you want to be playing with singles players and learn that game. I've actually wanted to learn. I haven't done it because they have shots. Singles players have shots that you play in singles that you don't play as much in doubles.
Yep.
So these guys and gals I know that play singles, it's nice to have more shots, more of these single shots in your quiver when you're playing doubles. So good. So anything you want to work on, drill later?
Definitely my volleys. That was just a huge, especially jumping. I mean, I played at 3-0, but this was 3-5 to 4-0, which is a huge jump for me. And at that level, I gotta make my volleys strong.
Primarily when you're at the kitchen line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got the swinging volley is my best shot right now.
Good for you.
But I gotta shorten that up at the kitchen line.
Right.
And just hit it back. Yeah.
Good. I mean, and the game is changing. It used to be we'd be hitting these sort of reset shots.
Yeah.
But with the way people are playing now, they're banging them. They're ripping these resets and these drops that you put in front of them.
Yeah.
From at the kitchen line, basically. So it's like not only do you need to be proficient at blocks and block volleys, but counters.
Yeah.
Counter attacking these drives that are coming at you. So good. Well, that'll be fun to work on. And believe me, that's actually a piece I need to develop even better in my game, which is counterattacking these volleyballs as opposed to just dropping them or blocking them or resetting them. Because what happens for me is I block them, I drop them in front of them, and they just fire it back again. So, it's like I'm just sitting here defending. I've got to counter and make it harder for them to hit these drives. All right. I jotted down a couple things. We don't have to hit them all. I've asked a few people. I ask people this, people I know all the time. And, I got kind of some pet peeves on some different topics.
You?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. This one, so ball on court, right? It's what I call ball on court. This is when you're playing and your ball leaves your court, okay, is one perspective, or you're playing and you're in a rally and a ball comes on your court. It may be in coinciding with somebody saying something when the ball comes on your court, anything from ball to ball to your name, other things. So, what are your thoughts on and it's a wide spectrum. It's a wide spectrum of thoughts on this. What are your guys' thoughts on ball on court?
So I'm coming from I started playing pickleball a year ago for the very first time, and I had no tennis experience before that. So no court experience. This is all new to me.
Right.
My opinion is basically just what I've seen done, and what I've found to be personally annoying. If my ball rolls off the court and it's just rolling down don't say anything. If it's just rolling down the sideline or whatever. But if it's someone's about to step on it, someone's about to trip, or it's going to get, then I'll call it out to give them a heads up.
Right.
But there's nothing more annoying than when you're trying to play and there's a ball that's nowhere near interfering with you and someone's running under your court and waving their hands and that's
running
ridiculous.
under your court and waving their hand.
Ball.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
not in my way. I don't care.
Yeah. Good points. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I also I think it depends on the type of game too, because you get these higher level games where you're spending a lot of time up at the kitchen, and the ball is rolling in the back. It's not impacting you at all.
Right.
Whereas you have some of these lower games where they stay at the baseline and it's interfering, So I think the biggest thing is paying attention to what's going on in that game.
Right.
Just because your point is over doesn't mean someone else's isn't. So
right.
Pay attention. And I'm coming from tennis too. So, I mean, obviously safety matters, and you want to watch, pay attention. Are they going to throw a lob and that person has to run back or whatever?
Well, how do you know somebody's going to throw a lob?
You just watch.
Yeah.
If they throw a lob,
then you can
say, but chances are the point's going to be over. They're at the kitchen and then you can get your ball.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think a lot of people have been trained, and people are trained just by osmosis, being on the court with other people. People are being taught and trained, and have been taught and trained. When the ball leaves your court, you immediately call ball, or ball, and you alert the people next to you, which I don't really necessarily agree with. I agree with you guys that, look, if somebody's in danger of stepping on the ball, of course you want to alert them that there's a ball behind them. But like you said, if a ball's rolling across the back court of play that's up at the net, I'm of the opinion, like you said, Zach, I let that ball roll through, okay? And it might even go to the next court. So you not only have to watch the first court it goes through, but it could possibly go to a third court down the way. And you have to manage that as well. But Now, I do know there's other people that don't hold that opinion. They think, and their opinion is, and they're entitled to it, when that ball leaves my court and goes into another court, I immediately call ball. Regardless of where it is, yes. Why? I mean, if somebody's not in danger, why stop the rally? Well, they can see it. Well, if they can see it,
Let
meaning
them
the
call
players,
it.
let them call
You
it.
can call it.
That's
It messes you up.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to
Yeah.
handle it when I'm playing. If I see a ball or somebody I'm playing with sees a ball and it impedes their play, fine. They want to stop, totally cool. We'll stop. We'll get the ball and we'll keep going. But if I see a ball and I'm just ignoring it and we're having a good rally, I'd like to finish the rally.
Yeah.
Not have somebody from the adjacent court screaming ball at me or at my crew and asking us to, because sometimes it feels like they're not necessarily saying the ball has left my court, it's now on your court and you are in danger. It sounds like they're saying, hey, go get my ball.
Yeah.
I know people don't really think that way, but we're all trained to just immediately go to this place of calling ball.
Yeah.
So I think if we use a little bit of judgment, and I've had a couple friends who actually don't want their videos to be put on here, and maybe they'll come around. They've had really good answers. I didn't necessarily agree with one, but he's entitled to his opinion. His opinion was, actually, I think he's going to let us put it on here, so maybe we'll attach it to this. His opinion was, ball leaves my court, for safety, I'm going to start calling ball, which somewhere in between, somewhere where I am, which is out here on an island, and somewhere where you just have to scream like a maniac that there's a ball traveling. I think we can find a happy medium, which leads us into people on court. So maybe you're playing in court one, there at MVP, and a game is finished. There's an open court, maybe middle or far away from you, and the people coming onto the court, or people leaving from their game, and they are coming towards your court. How do you view that?
Yeah, I think so. MVP is very busy, so that in itself, you have to just be aware of. There's a lot of people, especially at night, coming through. So for me, and tennis background, you always wait till the point is done to cross. Like personally, for me, I am more bothered by a person going behind me during a point than a ball. Like
behind you,
because I'm very aware that they're there, and I'm like, well, can I back up? I'm distracted.
Right.
So as a pet peeve of mine, do not cross while a point is playing. I personally am of the belief that if there's a point playing, that's priority, and you can wait.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't stop a point. Like I might not start a point to let people cross, but I'm not gonna stop a point. Or if you are taking too long, I'm gonna keep going, because games do need momentum.
Yeah.
You have momentum, and when you just stop and wait, it kills it.
Right. Which goes to the question of, why would people do this or behave this way? So, Zach, you're not coming into this from a tennis background. So you may have a perspective on it that isn't necessarily what Abby and I have, because we're coming out of tennis. And in tennis, you're taught very early on court etiquette. It's a big part of tennis teaching. And part of the court etiquette of tennis is how to cross a court, when to cross a court. A lot of clubs, you're actually crossing behind a curtain, so you're not as influenced as bad. You're not impacting the court. So, not coming from tennis, I'm curious to know how somebody like that might view or not even be aware of court etiquette. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the first time I really experienced pickleball was going to a tournament that Abby was in a couple weeks after we started dating, at the end of 2022. And I'd never played, had never been around the sport. And at that one tournament, I very quickly observed. I started to walk between courts, and I saw people waiting. I was like, oh wait, cool. Maybe I shouldn't go. And then the point was over, and then they went. And this is a situation where there's multiple courts stacked, and so they would cross between courts 1 and 2, and they'd stop, wait for that point to end, and then they go. And so it was kind of red light, green light.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh well, I guess that's what you're supposed to do. And so just by watching, I was able to see. Now, I was at tournament place.
Now,
so
this was a tournament, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay,
people
good.
know what to
So
do. at
people
tournaments.
know what
Yeah.
to
For
do.
the most part, yeah. Right. So you're in the room with a bunch of experienced players.
Yeah.
And you're in the room with a bunch of experienced tournament players. So, okay.
So that was a good introduction for me to learn that. And I still have had times when I'm just absent-minded, and there's a point going on. Maybe they're up at the kitchen line. I'm like, I'll just walk through. Or
You start wandering in.
well, behind them.
Wandering, moseying in, looking at the sky. And it's never just one.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a
There's
group.
4.
Yeah.
There's 4 coming off. There's 4
Yeah.
going on. You got
Yeah.
you got 2 that are swift, and then you got 1 or 2 that are just sort of looking
yeah.
up at the sky, or
They forgot their paddle. They have to go back for
Also,
it.
just
Right.
don't take your time.
Yeah.
That's just it's inconsiderate.
Right.
It's what it is.
Right.
It's fine if you want to walk swiftly. You don't have to run, but if you are walking slowly,
Right.
it's just inconsiderate.
Right. It really is very considerate too, like you said. So stop and wait. If there's a point going on, even if it's up at the kitchen line and their back court is open,
Yeah.
wait till the point is done.
Yeah.
Then you move through. And when you move through at a reasonably good pace.
Yeah.
You don't have to run,
Yeah.
but I actually will jog.
I will.
Just trying
personally.
to,
Yeah.
trying to move things along, and move through.
Also, maybe get your 4 and then go. Like, do not do the 1, 2. Like,
Right.
get your 4, and especially at MVP,
Yeah,
when
right.
you have the paddle system and you're waiting to go through, do not open that gate until all 4 people are ready to go through. Like,
Boy,
How about close the gate?
that's a
close
big,
the gate.
that's
Yeah,
a big
different
ask.
one.
Closing
Yeah.
the gate. Well, that's kind of a
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
yeah.
But like,
close-
just
close
go
gate.
through as a. Don't be
Right.
3 people waiting for one person. That court's waiting to continue with their.
I
play.
think we should. Now, we do sometimes practice it down there. I don't have the whole court here, but I think it's a good idea to at least try that when you're done on court 1, closest to the gate at the paddle rack, move down
Mhm.
when the court next to you opens up. The value of that is you get away from the gate, and the next court on for that court is
Comes
going to
on.
be is closer. So if we all keep moving down,
Mhm.
we won't
Be crossing people's games.
necessarily be crossing people's games. One game could end earlier than another, but if we're moving down and there's a new game here,
Mhm.
our game, chances are we're going to be finishing before that game.
Yeah.
And then when you're done, when you're finally at the end court, leave through
That
the
gate.
outer gate
Yeah.
and walk around.
Yeah.
If we could actually all start doing that,
Yeah.
I think it would really make things less crowded and chaotic.
I've played at courts like that.
Right.
Like, they
Me
already have
too.
systems like that.
They
Yeah.
do have systems. They
Yeah.
move. Whatever the local rules
Yeah.
are, whenever you go into a town and
Yeah.
you're on their court, it's like, what are the local
Yeah,
rules,
what are the rules?
man?
Yeah.
You talk about etiquette. What
Yeah.
are the local rules here? How do you guys run the paddle rack? Some of them have whiteboards. Some of them have challenge courts. Some of them whatever. But you learn the local rules.
Mhm.
I don't know what the downside to sliding is.
I would say it interrupts your game. I mean, it's a shift to constantly be moving. It's hard to kind
Pay
of get in
attention.
your
Well, for me, I like that interruption rather than the
People.
Sure.
moseying onto court.
Yeah.
If we move down, we get away from the gate. If we go down another one, we're really further away from the gate.
Yeah.
But I appreciate what you're saying about interrupting the game. It's not hard to move down, though.
No.
It's not hard to slide.
Just as far as the downside goes, the only one I can think of.
I've done it, and I personally, it's not my favorite. But when it's that, or people consistently interrupting our game, which has occurred multiple times at MVP,
Right.
next to the gate, it's like, I want to be far away from that gate as possible.
Right.
But if everyone could learn the etiquette, it might not be.
I
so
think
bad.
sliding's the answer. If somebody's got a better idea, I'm all ears. But when the MVP is packed,
Yeah.
you got to get away from that gate
Yeah.
because it's just an annoying reality to it all. And if you don't want to be annoyed, I guess you don't play at a public park, Joe.
Build your own
Yeah, how about
tennis
you
court.
build
Right.
your own?
Well, I don't have any room in my backyard, or believe me, I thought about it, but I don't think my HOA would be cool with it. But
The
with
dink.
Dill Dinker's opening, we're gonna have a place where we can options to go play.
With
All right, well, good. So we talked about ball on court. We talked about people on court. Is that enough? Have we filled enough time, or do we want to tackle any of the other topics here? I think probably that's
probably
been
good
yada
for
yadaing
now, but
for quite a while.
One thing we mentioned that I think we should talk about at another time is the challenge court concept.
Yeah.
Write that down just for another time.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I've been in places where they do challenge court, and it's great. Challenge court is fun, and you can test your skill level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have some gals or some guys that are out there just beating everybody, and that's the way challenge court is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just depends.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, some of the other topics to talk about is paddle rack, how the paddle rack works, the play at MVP. And what I mean by the play, I mean, like, I've heard friends talk about how, MVP is kind of cliquey, and I can't go down there and just get into a game. Everybody's got foursomes, and I don't like feeling left out, which is all reasonable stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a conversation that needs to be had and an understanding, because MVP, it's a public court, and what is there can be a happy medium between the two, but that's another topic, I think, which is a good one. If there's anything else that you guys want to hear about, leave it in the comments or send me a text. Comments about whatever makes sense. We want this to be about Frederick County, Frederick Pickleball, and that's what it is going to be about.
So we'll branch out past MVP.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, absolutely. I only talk about MVP because I spend most of my time there, but there are plenty of other places to talk about. The Y, Tuscarora, Dill Dinkers, the city. I don't really spend Tally and Trinity.
Middletown,
right?
And Overlook.
Yep. There you go.
Now, Joe, I did actually have a question for you. This is our first time being on a podcast together. This is not something we normally do, but you had talked to us about this, and we were excited to do it. But what is your motivation? Why are you doing a podcast about pickleball in Frederick County?
Good question. And I thought about this a lot. And I watched this show on TV, and it got me thinking, and it was about this guy that lived with the grizzly bears, and ultimately he got eaten by the grizzly bears, and there was a psychiatrist analyzing why would this guy be out with the grizzly bears, and it was he was delusional and got so self-absorbed in this thing. And I watched this documentary, and at the end of it I'm like, how does this relate to me and pickleball, and why am I doing this stuff with pickleball? And I go to Jill, and I'm like, Jill, am I delusional here? I mean, is something wrong with me? And seriously, no, I was thinking about it, because I was thinking about doing this podcast thing, and along with everything else we've done and I've done. And ultimately, what I came upon and I landed on, and I'm really glad I did, was that every time I do something in pickleball, it leads me to something good. So, and I really had to think about this, because the questions I was asking myself was, is this an ego trip? Is this ego driven? Are you delusional? With this, what would this psychologist say about you? And where I landed was, seriously, since 2017, I got in 2017. Within 6 months, Jill was in, which really is the single most greatest thing of it all, is that it's something that Jill and I do together. we've been married for 20 years. We were together for 10 years, so 30 years. We do this every day together, which is incredible. So, there's that. There's what we have done in 3 years over at LDS with skills and drills. And then that leads into diadem and paddles and equipment. And then that leads into coaching and working with people. And that leads into, imagine all the people that we know now that we didn't know before. Like, we wouldn't know you guys. I'm 61. You guys are what, like 25, 30 years old? We're not hanging out together, So all the people that we get to meet. So that's a long-winded answer to the question, which is, why are you doing this? And what I'm hoping is that I'll be doing it with, not about me, other people, you and anybody else that wants to talk about Frederick County Pickleball, and what we're doing here. So I don't have an exact reason. I just know in my heart that it leads to something good. So it doesn't get any better than that, right? All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We are talking about doing this live. We'll pick a day or a night or something that works. If you think that live, your business is graphic design, and these guys are kind of brainstorming some ideas about the podcast and the YouTube and different stuff. So I'm very excited to be working with you. All right, so we've got some drilling to do. So we're going to go drill and work on our pickleball games. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up, and we will see you next time. Thanks a lot. Hey, Frederick County Pickleball. Thank you for joining us today. If you have a topic or idea, drop it in the comments and we'll cover it in future podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the courts.